Fast food operators are facing a dual crisis, a shrinking labor pool and a consumer base demanding faster service. To solve this, the industry turned to self-order kiosks, deploying them to process a constant stream of orders while physical counters remain entirely unstaffed. Beyond solving the labor bottleneck, these machines act as sales engines. They consistently generate higher average tickets than human cashiers. This chart compares average order values between traditional counter transactions and self-service kiosks. Industry data reveals a 20 to 30% increase in order size at the screen. 76% of users end up purchasing more food than planned when ordering digitally. A human cashier might forget to offer a larger drink or feel too fatigued to suggest a dessert during a lunch rush. The software never forgets. It prompts every single customer with targeted add-ons, systematically driving up the total bill without hesitation. Yet, despite these financial incentives, actual customer adoption is hitting a hard ceiling. Operators are installing expensive fleets of hardware, only to watch a significant portion of their daily traffic bypass them completely. The hardware works as designed, and the user interfaces are responsive. The reason these screens sit idle is driven by a psychological barrier that most operators fail to measure. In late 2018, microbiologists at London Metropolitan University conducted a study that examined the surface of fast food touchscreens. Researchers took swab samples from self-order kiosks at several restaurant locations across the city. After a few weeks of incubation, they identified multiple strains of human-associated microbes, including bacteria commonly found in the human gut. The academic team intended to raise mild awareness about the importance of hand washing. Instead, British tabloids seized the data, publishing articles that framed the findings as an urgent public health crisis. Headlines declared that traces of literal feces were found on every single screen tested. The story went viral globally, cementing a visceral image in the minds of consumers that tapping a fast food menu is equivalent to touching biological waste right before eating a meal. The lead researcher explicitly stated the bacteria were not an active threat to healthy people and cautioned against alarm. But the clinical context was lost beneath the sheer disgust generated by the headlines. A single sensationalized media cycle successfully rewired consumer habit. It transformed a multi-million-dollar capital investment into a perceived biohazard. To understand the actual risk, we have to look past the headlines and examine the biological reality of public spaces. Humans carry trillions of bacterial cells inside and outside their bodies. Every time a person interacts with their environment, they acquire and leave behind microorganisms. The specific bacteria isolated from the fast food screens, strains like Staphylococcus and Enterobacter, are the exact same flora you transfer when you touch an elevator button, grip a shopping cart, or unlock your own smartphone. These microbes are so ubiquitous that they easily bypass the most rigorous sanitation protocols on the planet, and beyond it. In fact, a study published by BMC Microbiology found the exact same antibiotic-resistant strains of Enterobacter present on the fast food screens living inside the toilet of the International Space Station. Despite the microscopic presence of these strains across thousands of restaurants, there are zero public health reports of healthy individuals contracting an infection from using a self-order kiosk. Economic damage follows public perception, even when the underlying physical risk remains statistically negligible. The threat to the business is the customer's belief that the machine is a pathogen. Standing in the dining room of a modern quick-service restaurant reveals this psychological barrier manifesting in real time. Customers have developed physical workarounds. These are friction indicators, visible tactics designed solely to avoid pressing exposed skin against the glass. The most common adaptation is the knuckle tap. Users curl their hands and navigate complex menus using only the hard joints of their fingers, keeping their finger pads safely elevated away from the surface. Others construct physical barriers. They grab a paper napkin or pull down the sleeve of their jacket, creating a temporary shield to press the buttons without making direct contact. In more extreme cases, patrons will pull out personal styluses or use the plastic cap of a ballpoint pen to interact with the prompts. Even customers who use their bare hands often exhibit post-use anxiety. The moment the order is complete, they scan the room for hand sanitizer or walk directly into the restroom to wash up before their food arrives. These awkward interactions are not the result of a confusing user interface. They are diagnostic symptoms, confirming that the customer entirely distrusts the hygiene of the hardware. The final, most destructive stage of this anxiety occurs when a customer walks through the door, evaluates the smudged glass of the kiosk, and simply refuses to engage with it. Instead of processing their own order, this customer redirects their path, bypassing the available machines to stand in front of the traditional register. This floor plan demonstrates what happens when individual choice scales up. The digital ordering stations sit idle, while traffic flow fails, clustering and bottlenecking at a single, understaffed physical counter. The restaurant's engineered labor model collapses. Wait times for the entire store spike. The few employees are overwhelmed, and service quality plummets for everyone in the building. When the line for the register extends toward the door, arriving customers often walk back out. Every abandoned queue represents a lost immediate transaction and a lost future visit. That 20 to 30% increase in average order value, the metric used to justify the hardware investment, simply vanishes if the machine is bypassed. Failing to address screen hygiene perception actively sabotages the restaurant's throughput, far exceeding the loss of a few tech-wary customers. Stripping the expensive kiosks out of the dining room is not a viable solution. Instead, operators have to actively engineer customer trust. The flaw in current restaurant maintenance is timing. Wiping down the screens at 2 in the morning ensures a sterile surface to start the day, but 0 customers are there to witness the effort. To fix the perception gap, sanitation must be treated as a user experience strategy, a concept known as visible sanitation. This requires a tactical shift. Store managers must schedule screen wipe-downs exclusively during peak traffic hours. The act of cleaning must be performed deliberately, in front of the very customers waiting to use the machines. Operators also need to install proximity supplies. Positioning hand sanitizer dispensers and antibacterial wipes directly next to the terminals provides immediate psychological relief to an anxious user. The technology itself can reinforce this message. The kiosk's digital screensaver should actively broadcast the store's hygiene protocols, explicitly displaying the timestamp of when the surface was last sanitized. A restaurant must market its cleanliness as aggressively as its menu items. If the customer doesn't see the cleaning happen, the sanitation holds 0 psychological value. Even with visible cleaning schedules and readily available sanitizer, a hypersensitive segment of the customer base will still refuse to touch a shared public screen. For these patrons, operators must provide a digital bypass. By integrating QR code ordering directly onto table tents and digital menu boards, the restaurant offers an immediate alternative. This moves the exact same software interface off the public kiosk and onto the customer's personal smartphone, completely eliminating the shared surface anxiety without forcing them into a physical line. The modern quick service model requires a dual approach: highly visible physical cleaning protocols for the general public, paired with frictionless, touchless digital off-ramps for those who refuse the hardware. Engineered transparency solves the visibility gap, providing the only viable path to unlocking the full financial returns of self-service technology. By making sanitation a visible part of the brand, operators can finally bridge the psychological divide that keeps their screens idle.